Hi everyone, so this is the third and final video in this series, the Getting Started, and I want to just do an assignment overview, just to give you an understanding of how the assignments will be proceeding. This is not exhaustive. There's other information out there, other information about how this will play out. There are other details, but I just wanted to give you a general sense about how things are going on. And then if you have questions, you can, of course, post those questions in the Ask Me Anything discussion board. You can email me or, of course, call me. As we said in the previous video, emailing me and calling me are really important. So if you have any questions, make sure to do that. So what we've got here on the syllabus are a couple of charts here that show us something about the grade. So if you look on the right hand side, you can see how many points you need to get an A minus, B plus, etc. There are 1,000 points available over the course of the semester, and you can see how many you will need to get a particular grade. And then if you look over to the left hand side, you can see how those points are broken down. So the first few items, it says outlines for the first two writing projects, rough drafts for the first two writing projects, final drafts for the first two writing projects, and reflections for the first two writing projects. So the first two writing projects are very similar, and you will go through the same process for each. And I do not just throw you into writing these projects, and you can use projects and essays somewhat interchangeably. And so I don't just throw you in and say, hey, here, write an essay. What I do instead is say, let's go through a specific process that kind of builds you up towards writing that. So you can see the first item that I have in here is doing an outline. An outline is basically like a sketch. It's where you say, here is generally what I want this essay to look like. I will give you a very specific format for this. You don't have to come up with that. Don't worry about it. I will give you a very specific assignment for this outline, tell you what specifically I expect you to do in that outline. And you'll submit that to me. I'll comment on that, give you some ideas about what to do before you take that out and turn it into a rough draft, right? So then you will create a rough draft. Again, I'll give you some very specific things about what this assignment is supposed to look like, right? So I'm not telling you all that now, but when the assignments get closer, I will give you very specific details about what you need to do. So you'll turn that outline into a rough draft. I will then comment on the rough draft, tell you what it is that you need to improve. That's when you have the opportunity, of course, to email me, call me to talk very specifically about what some of my comments mean and how you're going to then go about turning that rough draft into a final draft. And then you'll get the final draft, and I'll make some comments on that as well. I want you to recognize that for these first three assignments, for the outline, rough draft, and final draft, you get full credit for all of these as long as they are long enough and obey all of the requirements of that assignment. So as long as you turn in your outline on time, it's going to get 25 points. As long as you turn in your rough draft on time, and it is long enough, I don't want you to turn in a one-paragraph rough draft, but as long as you turn a rough draft on time and it's long enough, you're going to get your full 40 points for that. As long as your final draft comes in on time and is long enough, you're going to get full 40 points. So all of these points here are pretty easy. All you have to do is simply complete the assignments. And so relatively easy there. It's only the fourth one that will actually be graded in the sense that you can potentially lose points. And notice that's worth more, 60 points each for the reflections. And reflections are just that. You reflect on, that is, think about what happened during this process. So I want you to be thinking about, as you go through the outline, rough draft, and final draft, why you changed what you did. What kind of comments did I make? How did you respond to those comments? So I realize I want to understand that process. If you don't do one of these, if you don't do an outline or a rough draft or a final draft, you're going to lose a bunch of points in the reflection. So not only, if you don't do a rough draft, let's say, not only will you lose the 40 points for not doing the rough draft, you also can't get a good grade in your reflection because I'm going to ask you things like, what did you do as you moved from your rough draft to your final draft? You can't answer that question if you didn't do a rough draft. So you're going to have to complete all these assignments. Again, you get full credit for doing the rough draft, so you don't worry about if it's good or bad. Just go ahead and do it, and then look at the comments, and then go ahead and create a final draft. Again, as long as you do that, you'll get all of those points. And then in the reflection, you'll be able to talk about that, and then get the most points possible, because you've got all of those elements there and you're able to talk about them in detail. Again, I'll give you some very specific things that I want you to talk about in your reflection. So I just want you to understand that process. That writing is a process. That's a really important thing you need to know about writing in general. It's something I emphasize in the course, and I do that through this structure here. So just keep that in mind about how that works. So what that means is, as long as you're keeping up with the assignments, it's relatively easy to do well. I want you just to be writing, going through the process, and then thinking about that process. So as long as you're doing that, it's going to be relatively easy to do well in the course. I have a third item here, the third writing project, and it's a research project. It says 220 points total. There are a number of steps to building that up that it's going to be worth a total of 220 points. Again, a lot of those will be, did you do them? And if you did them, you're going to get full credit for them. I don't want to list them here because it's rather complicated. There are like a number of different elements to that, but I just want you to know that that third writing project is worth 220 points in total. That's a lot. But again, I'm going to take you through and explain in detail what that process is. So just keep that in mind as well. We'll have what I call 2-hour essays. They're going to be like tests that you can take on Blackboard. You have to write those in 2 hours. You'll open them up and you'll see an essay prompt and have to complete it in 2 hours. Those are worth 40 points each. And then this is a really important category here: quizzes, discussion boards, reading responses, other short assignments. Those are worth 320 points. That's a big chunk. That's a lot. Things like the quizzes that you are taking here in these videos, those go into that category. Whenever you read anything, a poem, a short story, a play that we're going to be talking about, then those go into this category. The Ask Me Anything discussion board, they're only worth 1 point for each question, but those go into there. They actually count as extra credit for that. There'll be a number of discussion boards, a number of short assignments that we have, just anything that we do where I'm asking you to kind of respond through discussion board or write something short. Those will all go into that category. So 320 points is a big chunk. You want to make sure that you're getting that. So that's about making sure that you're involved in the course, making sure that you are, again, doing all these little assignments, just keeping up with the things that I'm asking you to think about. And then we've got a final exam, which is another reflection assignment. That is for that you're going to reflect on your work over the course of the semester. And so that's what we have for the exam. So those are the that's generally how the assignments are going to play out. If you look down through the syllabus, I have some other specific descriptions about this that kind of repeat some of the things that I've been talking about, so you can read through those to be able to get that other information. I've got some other information for the rest of the syllabus about keeping in touch with me. I think I've emphasized that enough. Some information about plagiarism. You're going to submit things to turn it in to keep from plagiarizing. Plagiarizing is a big issue. So you can read through that. And then at the end of the syllabus, I've got some things about the Campus Writing Center. If you have any feel like you need some extra help with your writing, you can virtually visit the Campus Writing Center. I've got the address here. They conduct those meetings on WebEx. I completely encourage you to go to the Writing Center. However, as I feel I've emphasized a lot, I do want you to talk to me too. So do not just go to if you're having some problems with your writing, don't go to the Writing Center without talking to me. Again, I completely encourage you to go to the Writing Center. I think the Writing Center is great, but I'm the one that's kind of, I designed the assignments. I'm the one that's going to be marking things up. So I want you to see me as well. We can work together with the Writing Center. So I get information from the Writing Center, and I don't like to see that you're going to the Writing Center and not saying, hey, I need to ask him some questions as well. So please make sure you're doing that. We've also got a disability notification. So if you feel that you have disabilities that we need to be aware of, we need to make accommodations for, you can visit there. You can talk to somebody in disability services. And then we've got the counseling center. That's important anytime, but especially, during lockdown, there's all kinds of issues that people might be going through. And so if you have any kind of concerns, personal concerns, you can visit the counseling center. So that's everything we have in the syllabus. Again, you can read it on your own, but I just wanted to have these short videos that gave you a general sense about some of the issues that we're going to deal with. And so again, you've got a short quiz that you can take.